Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
And I'm Ryan Haywood.
Thank the maker. Electronic Arts held its Q2 earnings call for investors yesterday, giving us all kinds of video game news to chew on, even though it wasn't meant for us.
To be fair. In addition to confirming that Star Wars Battlefront 2 will be coming in fall 2017, responding to criticism about Titanfall 2's release date, and talking...
And RIP.
Yes, and...
The game kind of dead on arrival, and I feel really bad about that.
Titanfall 2?
Yeah, because it's like good, and everyone who's played it loves it, but no one's buying it, and that sucks.
I hate to say it, but yeah, you should buy it. It's good. But aside from that, they also talked about the fact that they haven't ruled out another Mass Effect Andromeda delay. The publishing giant may also have figured out a way to annualize DICE's signature franchises.
Sort of. So there's a lot of news in one phone call, and we didn't even have to give EA our credit card number first, which is like a nice little present for us.
Well, first up, the biggest and probably least shocking news of all, Star Wars Battlefront 2 landing fall 2017.
Never would have called that. During the phone call, EA CFO Blake Jorgensen confirmed as much, saying the game would be out a year from now. For those concerned about any lack of content Battlefront 2 might have versus its predecessor, Jorgensen also said they're working very hard to make sure it's an extremely deep and engaging offering.
So maybe like single player? No?
No, don't count on it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, thanks to a previous earnings call from back in May, we already knew that Battlefront 2 was totally a thing. But at the time, it was unclear if the game would be releasing in 2017 proper or, EA's fiscal 2017, which could have meant a release date in the first quarter of 2018.
And judging by the recent releases, we can probably expect EA's lesser known but best game of next year to come out 1 week after Battlefront 2, because I guess that's just how they roll now.
In that previous earnings call, we also learned that Battlefront 2 would include content from the new Star Wars movies, although it's a bit unclear right now if that would mean just the new trilogy or it might even branch out to the anthology films like Rogue One.
You do a standalone Han Solo mission. So what'll be interesting to see is if content for Episode 8 had been in development before the movie was delayed from May 2017 to December 2017, presumably after Battlefront 2 will be released, and just how much we'll be able to learn about the film ahead of its premiere.
Hopefully, making the game deep and engaging means that they'll be adding some form of single-player campaign. It'd actually be cool to see them take the same approach as Battlefield 1 and offer kind of a handful of stories set throughout the history of the Star Wars universe.
As long as they don't take their lessons from Titanfall 2, because they finally added a campaign to that, and then it didn't sell really well, even though it's a really cool campaign. Well, remember, it's EA's Peter Moore who cited stats saying people didn't care about campaigns. So you just gotta be very careful what lessons you learn, please. Yay. And speaking of Battlefield 1, actually, one other interesting development about Battlefront 2's release date is that it shows EA's desire to kind of try, at least, to annualize DICE's projects. After all the hate that's been lobbed at Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed in recent years, there's definitely been a push from some developers to stop annualizing certain franchises, but EA may have found a way to do it by alternating between Battlefield and Battlefront.
Well, both games are essentially the same kind of playstyle with different makeovers. One embedded in sci-fi and the other in realism.
Sort of, if you count doing like a loop-de-loop in a plane.
You mean they didn't have flamethrower guys?
No, weird, right?
Okay, well, that will allow EA to get a battle property out every year without some of the scrutiny given to, say, Infinite Warfare. It'll also help them keep the Battlefield franchise kind of more grounded without the need to stray too much, like some of the more recent entries prior to Battlefield 1.
Considering the massive sales numbers of each franchise, Battlefront moved 14 million copies and Battlefield 1 is expected to move around 16 million, it's no surprise at all that EA would want to keep them coming out year after year. If that's the case, we could probably then expect Battlefield 2 out 2018, Battlefront 3 in 2019, just in time for Episode 9.
Okay, you can't call it Battlefield 2. No. You can't call it that.
Look, they're the ones who fucked it all up.
No.
I don't even know where to go from here.
I reject that name now.
What do you call it then?
Battlefield next. Before. Battlefield after.
Battlefield NX.
Battlefield with guns.
Okay.
EA's made no attempt to hide the fact that they're already going to annualize Star Wars through 2020. Both Respawn and Visceral are creating games with their exclusive Star Wars license.
Whatever those are.
Yeah, whatever it may be. We don't know yet. And why not DICE? Why not?
Sure, because no matter what EA says, they probably won't be repeating the recent blunder they made with Titanfall 2 again anytime soon. There's no way they'll ever put Battlefront and Battlefield up against each other.
Yes, no way. They couldn't have that idea twice.
Hopefully.
After early reports started coming in about Titanfall 2's sales being kind of disappointing already, the game apparently did less than half of retail on PS4 and Xbox One combined than Titanfall did on Xbox One alone in its first week. It seems that some of EA's shareholders had some concerns about how the company releases its games.
But fuck the haters, because EA actually doubled down on this strategy during the earnings call. When asked if they'd do things differently next time, EA CEO Andrew Wilson said that Battlefield 1 and Titanfall 2 fulfill very different motivations in what a player is looking for.
Except they don't. No, it's still just two multiplayer games. Multiplayer-heavy shooter games, yeah. He went on to say that there are three types of players. Quote, people that really love Battlefield and that kind of big strategic gameplay that will orient in that direction. The player that loves the fast, fluid, kinetic gameplay of Titanfall 2 that really orient in that direction. And the player that just has to play the two greatest shooters this year will buy both.
Yeah, there's also Dopey, Sleepy, Grumpy, Doc, Sneezy, and the guy who'd rather play Call of Duty instead. They're all different. They're all unique individuals.
No, they fit into one of those two pigeonholes, and don't you question him.
Sorry. EA also added that people are very excited about the free DLC, which will be played by hardly anybody since nobody's buying the game, and that they expect much more Titanfall to come over the next 2 years.
In addition to talking up Battlefront 2 and Titanfall 2, EA also took a bit of time to comment on the current state of Mass Effect Andromeda, and whether or not it remains on schedule for a Q1 2017 release date. And in that regard, they might have had a couple of disconcerting things to say.
Just in time for that teaser they released yesterday. CFO Blake Jorgensen stated that thanks to all the money they're making, they've actually got a little bit of wiggle room to delay Mass Effect Andromeda up to 5 months if they think it's necessary.
Oh. Jorgensen said, our guidance assumes that Mass Effect continues to be in this fiscal year, but it gives us some flexibility that we might choose to move it either a week or 3 or 4 or 5 months if we have to, based on what we want to make sure in terms of delivering the right experience to the players.
Oh, how nice of you to have so much money, EA. Meanwhile, we're over here worried that Mass Effect's launch date just might slip again.
That doesn't work in life, right? Like, I might be 5 minutes... 10 minutes.
You call your boss. You're like, I might be 5 minutes late. Yeah, I might just not come in today.
It's possible I'll be there next year. Fortunately, Jorgensen went on to say that Mass Effect, for now, still looks to be on target. But thanks for giving us all preemptive heart attacks, and it might not be ready until fall 2017.
God, I hope not. So that about does it for the huge recap of all the biggest headlines from EA's earnings call. What do you guys think of EA flanking Battlefront and Battlefield? Battlefront 2 coming out next year, and, well, everything else we talked about. Let us know in the comments.
And for future updates on EA titles, like this video and subscribe to the know. I'm sad about Titanfall 2. I really enjoy it.
I'm sad too. I feel like more people should play it, and their idea that like everyone is going to do all this deep research completely gives like us as a people who spend money on games way too much credit.
I really think
I want to play the shooty game.